Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to my channel, Do Ministry Gaming, and in this video, I'm going to be giving you an update on my Toxic Rain Caustic Arrow Pathfinder character League starter that I've been playing for 3.15 Expedition League. Now, this will be the final Toxic Rain Caustic Arrow video that I'll be making for this league, but I wanted to make one, give everybody an update on some of the changes that I've made, some of the changes that I've liked, from the last video that I put out, and walk everybody through kind of where my character's at right now, because I'm not planning to make any more changes to this character. It is serving its function as a league starter and helping me attain my goals that I set out for the initial league start. But I want to be very clear before we dive into it is that this is not a build guide for this type of character, okay? This is basically the bare minimum of the character that I needed in order to put Awakening level 8, tier 16 maps, and Conquerors and Cyrus on farm so that I can start to generate that currency for my real second character. So this is the bare minimum that I needed to feel comfortable to accomplish those goals. And I feel like I'm there, so I'm not going to make any further upgrades to this character. However, if I were actually to play this character seriously, there are many more upgrades that I would make to this character. And so if you've been following along this league with my videos and have also started a Caustic Arrow Toxic Rain type character, in the last video, I put out some recommendations for if you were having some mana or some damage issues in your league start scenario. I've got some more recommendations in this video to take it even the next step further, things that I've tried that I really like. And so hopefully you can continue to progress this character along the way like I have as well, and can get to the point that I've gotten to. So without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so the first thing I'll talk about is Toxic Rain versus Caustic Arrow. Currently, my character does use Caustic Arrow for map clearing, and then I do have a Toxic Rain Totem Setup for boss killing. Now, if you've been following me in the last couple of videos, you'll know why I've done that. And so to elaborate on that, in the last video, you may have seen me using Caustic Arrow with Mirage Archer and damage supports. That's because my damage at the time was a lot lower. Now it's a little higher now, and I have switched out into an Arrow Nova setup, which after trying it out, really like. Once you have the damage, this feels really good map clearing wise because of the amount of area it covers. And so my current links are Caustic Arrow, Vicious Projectiles, Efficacy, Swift Affliction, Mirage Archer, and what I dropped for Arrow Nova is Avoid Manipulation. And so this is a 34% more damage gem that I've swapped out for Arrow Nova, and it's feeling really good. I do have some area effect as well, causing my Caustic Arrows to be quite large, which will be the second thing I guess I'll talk about. I did pick up a Helm Enchant with some Caustic Arrow area of effect. There are 4 different enchants you can get on a helm for Caustic Arrow. I went with area effect. I just wanted as much coverage as I could when I'm mapping, so that I can, go a little bit faster. But you certainly can run increased duration as well, although I haven't found that duration is that important for the mapping portion. If it was, I would definitely switch out Swift Affliction back into Void Manipulation, because Swift Affliction has 25% less duration. But because things are dying pretty quickly in the Caustic Arrow Novas, I'm not needing to have that in my Caustic Arrow setup. Now, just a refresher for the Toxic Rain Totem, I do have Ballista Totem, Toxic Rain, Void Manipulation, Efficacy, Vicious Projectiles, and last time I also had Swift Affliction on the Toxic Rain, which I've since swapped out for Conk Effect. So Swift Affliction is not that great for Toxic Rain because Toxic Rain does actually need the duration for it to do more damage, because you're stacking pods instead of Caustic Arrow, which does not stack. And so switching that out for a Conk Effect is basically just giving you more duration on your Toxic Rain, and that's felt really good as well on the boss killing. All right, so the next thing to talk about is Pathfinder versus Raider. In the last video, I was running a Raider setup. I have since switched to Pathfinder, and I do like it quite a bit more personally. And so I'll show you actually on the POB here. I'll also talk about a little bit about the skill tree, I guess, from here. But first things first, Pathfinder versus Raider. And so when I was a Raider, I was running Avatar of Chase for the Onslaught and the Onslaught effect, and Avatar of Veil for the Avoid Elemental Ailments. Now, this is now 50% in 3.15 instead of 100%. And the other things that come with Avatar Veil don't really impact Toxic Rain or Caustic Arrow. And so you're really grabbing this node just for 50% Avoid Elemental Ailments, which is pretty expensive, I guess, for what you get. And then on top of that, if you want to get to 100, you have to invest into the tree. I went with grabbing 3 points into Crystal Skin. And then I had these 2 points as well on the Thick Skin Cluster for another 8%. Basically, once I had all that, I had 100% avoid to cold and any cold ailments, so freeze and chill. But I was 90% to fire and lightning because I didn't grab these 2 side points here. And so to get to 100, if you wanted it, you can spend another 2 points and grab cold and lightning, fire avoidance. You can also get it up here through elemental focus, 2 points there that way for 10% here. You can also get it through cluster jewel enchants like this one here, 10% chance to avoid being ignited. Those are of course harvest crafts. You can also get it through gear. You can also get it through cluster jewels. So there are many ways to do it, but the bottom line is, it's an investment in order to get it. Not only are you wasting 2 points on your ascendancies, but you're also doing all of that. And so I didn't think it was really quite that worth it. And if you don't care about elemental ailment immunities, you can definitely just go Way of the Poacher, get those frenzy charges, which is more damage, more speed, which is fantastic. However, I opted to give Pathfinder a try because I'm also getting frustrated with the flask nerfs. And so I gotta say, I really like it. Flasks are not a problem anymore. On top of that, with Master Alchemist here, remove elemental ailment when you use a flask. I don't mind having ailments because I can get rid of them, and I always have flask charges in order to do so. And so I'm freeing up some points on the tree, out of spec'd out of Crystal Skin and the other things that I went into. So freed up a lot that way. Then also, of course, Nature's Reprisal, which gets you 15% more chaos damage and 30% increased area of effect. This in the last patch wasn't that great, so moved the meta towards the Raider a lot because with Toxic Rain, in the last patch, area of effect was nerfed for Toxic Rain, and so this node really just gave you the 15% more chaos damage and the area effect wasn't that great. However, because my character now is running Caustic Arrow primarily, especially for the map clearing, the 30% increased air effect is actually fantastic, along with Arrow Nova covering the screen a lot more. And then the 15% more cast damage is a lot of damage, and it really does surpass any damage that I can get from the Raider with my current setup. The only difference is you are a little bit slower because you're not having all this onslaught effect. However, with Nature's Adrenaline, you do make up some of that speed back with 15% movement speed during Flask Effect, which is pretty much always. This has been working really well. I did end up spending some points into the new, some of the new Flask clusters like Careful Conservationist here. I did grab Profane Chemistry as well by dropping, these Thick Skin Life nodes as basically the same life here for Profane Chemistry, plus some Flask benefits. And so I did that, and it's feeling really good, I gotta say. So if you ever think about trying or you're frustrated with Raider because of, too much investment for elemental ailment immunity or flasks are annoying, you can definitely give that a try. Now, if you were going to take this to the next level, the end game setup, of course, would be, I think still is, another cluster jewel setup in the south here. You definitely run a Thread of Hope in this middle jewel socket here. Grab all the associated notables that come with that. You can also pick up this cluster jewel here and put in a intuitive leap, save yourself some skill points. One final thing I guess I'll talk about are just a couple other pieces of gear I think that are new from the last video. The first is I did get some Culling Strike gloves. That is quite nice. If you can't afford something like this, or want to get Culling Strike another way, which you can. There's a medium cluster jewel which lets you Culling Strike on cursed enemies, which you are of course cursing enemies with despair. And so you certainly can run some damage over time multiplier gloves in the glove slot, which was what I did before running Culling Strike. But because boss fights last so much longer now, the Culling Strike is very nice in my opinion for the AA Conquerors and the Cyrus fights. So that's what I went with. And then for the ring, I did switch out of my Profane Proxy setup. Now with a Despair on hit ring, it gets me that little bit more life. It gets me some, allows my Skitter boss to chill again. So adding another layer of defense. And so that's what I went with. All right, and then finally, a couple things to cover off is the first, if you want to take the character further than I have here, you certainly can. Every piece of gear here can be upgraded to much better than it is. A couple things. So the first is the bow. So the chaos damage over time multiplier affix is now a suffix instead of a prefix, which allows for more powerful damage over time bows to be crafted for this build. And you can refer to, I think Path of Math has made a video in 3.15 talking about how to craft a toxic endgame toxic rain bow. It's very detailed, it's very good, so just follow that method and you can craft yourself a very, very sick damage over time bow for maybe about 12 to 15 exalts or so, and you should be able to craft one of those. And so very, very powerful. A lot more damage than even the bow that I'm just showing here right now, which is already a +3 in damage over time multiplier. You can get another damage over time multiplier on top of almost up to 100% increased chaos damage as well. So very sick. Make sure you check that out if you want the maximum bow that you can get. And then the other thing that I don't mention in my build guide also is if you want to maybe squeeze out, at least from my character, another 10% damage or so, what I could do is in my second ring slot, the one that isn't Despair on hit, my other ring slot, I can choose to run an Essence Worm and then put my Malevolence into it so that it costs no mana. And then put one skill point into this keystone that you're pathing by already called Supreme Ego, which allows you to only have one permanent aura, but basically improves its effect by 50% more. Okay, so basically what that will do is your Malevolence goes from 21% more damage over time to 50% more of that, so 31% more damage over time. So you get another 10% more damage over time on that aura, and you have to run it in the Essence Worm, otherwise you're not going to have enough mana to cast it. And the other great things that come along with this is that you're going to have some extra mana now, so you're less strapped on that front. And then also you can continue to run Skitter Boss because Skitter Boss does not actually count as an aura when it comes to Supreme Ego. Okay. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please like and subscribe. Also stream on Twitch Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Times are in the description below. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.